Hi guys, hi everyone. I'm Shachar.
And I'm Ram. We are from Tel Aviv, from Israel. So, good day, hi. 2014 was one of the greatest years for Israeli startup and high-tech industries, with more than $7 billion invested in acquisitions in Israel. Actually, January 2015 just blew up all statistics with around $1.3 billion invested by companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Dropbox, and Alibaba. Yeah, this was a great year and starting to be a really good one. Our next guest will be Adi Tatarko. Adi, she is the co-founder and CEO of Houzz. Houzz is a leading platform for house modeling, remodeling, and design. She and her co-founder husband, Alon, both grew and raised in Israel. And they actually started Houzz because they have their own challenges of remodeling their own house about a few years ago. Yep.
And David will interview you. And David was the CEO and founder of Yammer that sold for Microsoft. Now he's the COO and the investor of Zenefits. And previously he was the COO of PayPal. And he also produced and financed the movie Thank You for Smoking. So please welcome David and Adi.
Yeah, David and Adi.
Let's have a welcome.
All right. Very excited to be here today to talk to Adi. Houzz is one of my favorite products, one of my favorite companies, and when I discovered it as a user a few years ago, I rushed to go meet with the founders and invested in the company. So it's truly one of the products and companies that I use and love. Adi, I think this is a great story of a bootstrap startup. I guess, well, first maybe let's just start with how well is Houzz doing today? Can you what can you tell us in terms of users or employees or stuff like that?
I think it's doing okay. Let's see, from a small group of, it started as a pet project in 2009, and it started as a solution for our problem because trying to remodel our house was a nightmare. And so it started as something that we did with our community, 20 parents from our kids' school, and a few designers and architects from the Bay Area. So from that point till today, Houzz grew by word of mouth, completely organically. And today, the 20 people that started it from school is 25 million people. The small group of architects and designers from the Bay Area is now 600,000 professionals, contractors, architects, designers, lighting consultants, landscapers, 63 different groups of professionals from all over the world, so 600,000 of them. We have all the big brands of the industry that are also part of our ecosystem. What else I can say about the community? We now have, Houzz started in California, but it's now not just spreaded pretty quickly all over the US, but we're also a global platform. Right. So we have communities all over the world. When we ran our recent survey, we realized that we have users from 197 countries. We're launching Houzz locally in different countries. So in the summer, we launched it in the UK and in Australia. And in the fall, it was in Germany and France. 15 other countries are going to be launched this year, covering the rest of Europe and Asia as well. We started 2014 with 150 Houzzers in the company, and we ended up the year with over 400. So I think that's kind of, it was a crazy year. Yeah, so it's been a great year for growth. The company's really expanded. Let's go back to there's a lot of entrepreneurs here. Let's go back to when you founded this company. A lot of people may not know that your co-founder is who? My husband, the best co-founder.
And you guys founded this company together at when?
So in 2009, it was our pet project. As I said, we bought a house. We thought it's going to be so much fun to renovate it and design it. And it was such a pain. not fun. We couldn't find the right professionals to help us. We couldn't express what we had in our mind. You know, we spent a lot of time and money and energy to get plans that we hated. We couldn't find the right products. And so and the more we talked with other people in the community, we realized that's a painful process for something that you spend so much time on. And people, you know, really care. This is your home. This is where you raise your kids. This is where you entertain. This is who you are. And people have lots of dreams about it. We did. And everybody in the community said, oh, don't even start. It's such a pain. And we felt that it shouldn't be like that. If we had technology and the ability to communicate with other people and see what's out there and learn more, maybe it will be much more fun. And we started as a pet project, and the rest was history. A year and a half after we actually decided, okay, can't do it as a pet project anymore. Let's create a real company out of it.
Right. So that's actually, I think, a really common theme that you see with great companies is that the need was something, or that the idea for the company grew out of the founder's need and own experience, and that happened here. So you guys were running this essentially out of your garage at home?
Not garage,
Not garage,
kitchen.
okay, so kitchen. So it's a little more comfortable than a garage.
But yes.
And so for 18 months, you were kind of in bootstrap mode, and then it wasn't until around what, 2010 or?
Fall 2010.
That you started contemplating taking money for the first time. And so what happened then?
The community started growing rapidly, and we were working like crazy because we had our jobs, we had 2 kids, and we had to work nights and weekends, and we paid for everything out of our very, very lean, It was a very, very difficult situation, but it actually taught us how to keep everything very lean. We didn't have deep pockets. And at some point, we just met the right people that told us, you're crazy. What you're doing, you may not understand, but you're bootstrapping it, and it's enough. If you want to bring great people on board to help you and scale it, you have to get some money from investors. And the rest was history. We met Oren Zeev, and he promised us that he's not going to ruin all the fun, and he's going to give us money to do whatever we want. He's going to be in the back seat and going to support us, which was one of the most meaningful things for us, to have the right person with us early days. And actually, he joined, and we said no VCs whatsoever. We just don't want VCs. We want to keep it like family, and this is so much fun with you, Oren. But 7 months after, he said, if you want to bring the top engineers, the top people in the Valley, we really need to consider bringing top-tier VCs on board. And for a while, we said, no, that's going to ruin all the fun. We don't want to do that. But one day we were in a good mood, and he offered that again. And we said, you know what? We're not going to do the Sandhill Road pitch. No way. This is not us. This is our baby here. But if we could meet just very few people from the top tier firm that you're talking about that we agreed on, and we'll have coffee together, and the chemistry will be there, we'll consider it. And before we'll change our minds, he brought a piece of paper, and we wrote 5 names. And he sent 5 emails out. And that evening, which I was so surprised to see now, that was Sunday evening, and we were invited with Oren and his wife to a big dance party that was here at this room. And I haven't been in this room since that day. And the chairs weren't here, so we were all dancing. It was a costume party. And it was a few hours after he sent the 5 emails out. And then he came to us in the party and he said, look, the emails are coming back. And then he showed us an email from Mike Moore. He said, like the idea, coming with Alfred to meet them at the office tomorrow morning, Alfred Lin. I said, what? Tomorrow morning? And he said, yes, keep dancing. And so the next morning, Alfred Lin and Mike Morris from Sequoia showed up at the office. The office was a little room with no conference rooms. We were 11 people in the company at this point. And we had a nice conversation. They asked us some questions about the product, but you couldn't tell.
Right.
I'm sure there are some people here from Sequoia, and they probably have heard the story from Mike and Alfred. But at the end of it, they said, would you like to have tea or coffee with us? And we said, sure. So we walked out of the office and then said, okay, we want to invest. I said, what? We want to invest. And they gave us a term sheet, and the rest is history. So Sequoia led the second round, and from there we just kept growing. So I think, looking at the situation there, the fact that we didn't realize we were bootstrapping, but what we did was bootstrapping. At the time that we had to bring investors on board, we could really choose the best people out there. And they wanted to work with us. And two things happened to us. First of all, when you are an entrepreneur, and assuming you're not David Zacks that already did a few companies, sold them for billions of dollars, and every investor will give you money, right? But if you are just a normal person and no track record, you have to prove to investors two things. One, that your idea is good, and people are actually going to use it and like the idea. And two, that you can execute. Both items you don't have to prove if you bootstrap it, and you do have traction, and you prove that people actually need and love the product, and you have a strong community. And two, you can execute. So that's what happened to us.
Yeah, and definitely as an angel investor, I would just say that you never want to see a PowerPoint. You really want to see a product, and especially if that product has traction. And like you're saying, if you do have a product that's working, you can pretty much have your pick of VCs. But how awesome is it that Mike Moritz gets an email on a Sunday night, he responds right away, he's in your office the next morning, and it basically tells you that day he's going to invest, you have a term sheet that week. For those of you in the audience who want to be VCs, I think there's a great lesson there about why Mike Moritz is one of the most successful VCs in history. But how awesome did that feel to get, this interest? So basically you had been bootstrapping this thing for 18 months, and just to be clear, that means that you guys were working day jobs and doing this nights and weekends, plus you're raising kids.
2 kids at a time.
Yeah, so Oren comes on board, puts money in, and then he introduces you to Mike, they invest. So what's happened since then? Tell us about the progress of the company.
So Sequoia promised us, and they kept their promise, that they're going to keep it exactly the way it is. No pushing on, let's monetize right away, let's take it this direction or the other direction. I think that the product was pretty clear what it is, why we're doing what we're doing, how we're planning to do it, what is the path to get there, and they were so supportive on that front, which was very, very important. We used the money to bring the best engineers, product people, designers, editors, community people in the Valley, really the best of the best. And we've built a culture that we had a lot of fun being part of. I get up in the morning, it's so crazy and stressful, and you want to be surrounded by great partners that you can work with and innovate with every day. So we just kept doing it, and the community kept growing.
Right.
And then in 2013, we looked at our traffic and users and professionals, where are they coming from? And we said, oh, so it's not just that we spread it all over the US, we actually have professionals and users from all over the world. 35% of our users, and we had millions of them already at this point, were coming from other countries outside of the US. So we said, okay, what do we do next? And we said, let's talk to the community and see what they want. And they voted big time, help us localize the service. It was way more than the language barrier. It was, let's create, because this is what Houzz is all about, let's create a global design language where people can sit in Russia or in Australia or in Japan or in the US and get inspiration from each other and find products and materials from other countries and connect to professionals in other countries and just talk to each other. Because design is not just a very local thing. Let's remove the barriers.
Right.
And the community was so supportive of it, and we just started doing it. So we launched UK and Australia back in summer 2014, then Germany and France in the fall, and we are planning to launch in 15 other countries this year to cover the rest of Europe and Asia. So that was one big thing that happened in 2014. The other thing that happened along the way, while we said all this time, monetization will follow, but product and user experience will always be our #1 priority. This is what created this, and this is what we should keep in mind all the time. But monetization did follow, and one after the other, we launched 3 revenue channels that we have, and each one of them we started because of a demand from community members.
Right. Okay, so let's go through the 3 channels real quick.
Okay, so the first one was brand advertising, but for us it was very important. We didn't want to have people come to Houzz because they want to find great ideas, product, materials, professionals, and create their dream homes. They don't come to Houzz to buy pet food or cars or other items. So for us it was important we'll do only endemic, and I have to tell you, we do have brand, and I'm sure if you're videotaping it, he's going to kill me later on, but we have a brand advertising guy, and he comes to me from time to time, and he said, can we just get this campaign, $3 million for this car? We can shoot this car in a nice garage, and it will be, said, no, this is not what people come to Houzz for. So we were very, very, and IKEA was the first one who came to us, and we built very contextual experience for people based on the work with these brands. Then the second channel was building a local channel for the professionals on Houzz. So Houzz exposure for them was international, and they started getting lots of clients and leads from all over the world. But they called us and they said, this is wonderful. We're getting clients that we could never have access to, but help us also build our brands locally, which we did. We built a Pro Plus marketplace, and this is a very, very big channel for us. It's a subscription model, which we call the freemium model. I'm sure you know it very well from Yammer. And the third channel was, again, the community started calling us to the office. People picked up the phone at the office, and users on the other side asked, can you ship this freestanding bathtub? Can you send us these tiles? Can I get this sofa? Where is the add to cart? Right. And the more we talked to our community, we realized they're already doing everything using the platform, and we became the go place for them for everything that is home related. So they get the inspiration, they read the articles, they educate themselves. Then they go down the funnel to execute, and they find great pros to help them, whether it's a designer to just redesign their living room, or lots of different professionals to help them build huge homes and everything in between. But something was missing. While we were providing lots of information about different products and materials, they really wanted to get it all in one place. So we said, okay, we released a beta a few months ago, and this has been growing really fast. And I think the reason is people want to complete everything on Houzz.
Right. And so it's interesting, your monetization strategies really grew organically out of what the community was asking you for.
Absolutely.
As opposed to it being something that was like a tax on the community. This was actually something that would enhance the community's experience.
And I truly, truly believe in that. I believe that first you build a product that people really need, and they're going to love, and they're going to have fun using, and it's going to be great for them. Then you listen to them. What is it that they need? If you do have this strong community behind your platform, and you do provide what they are looking for, monetization will just follow, and it did big time in all three channels.
And so you've had this hyper growth, and you've done it without, I believe, any marketing spending. Is that true, or?
Absolutely.
So you spent no money on marketing. So what's driven the growth? Is it this focus on community? How have you done anything to stoke that, or?
First of all, we are the users. So we created it originally for ourselves. And we're still our users. Believe it or not, but Alana and I are still renovating our house. It's a never-ending project. We got so busy.
Is it the same project? Or?
It's the same project. Okay. It's the same house. Gabby and Allison that work with me at Houzz came this morning to pick me up from home to come here. And they looked at me and I said, I know. They still saw general contractors standing outside and installing light fixtures. And it happened again. It was the same situation 6 months ago. And I said, I know. This year maybe we'll finish. Right. So yes, we are the users. And we build a product that we truly needed, and we felt that it will be enjoyable and productive and great to use. This is the feedback that we get from our users, that this is something that became so useful and productive, but also so much fun and very different from the experience that they had before. So that's one thing. We built a product that really helped us grow organically, but we listened all the time. We used it, and we listened to other people that are using it. And it's not all just magic, right? You do hit lots of walls. There are many things that you try, and they're not so great, and they don't work.
So you guys do experimentation,
all
you do
the time.
testing.
You know what? You can't innovate without making mistakes, without failing, and then trying it again. And we just keep jumping.
Right.
Do you know the story about the frogs? That fell to the bucket. Do you know the story about the 2 frogs that fell to the bucket? Okay, I'll tell you that, because this is pretty much the story of our life. And we told it to the company in one of the company meetings a few years ago. And now every time we face a new challenge, people are telling us, let's just keep jumping. Right. So 2 frogs fell into a bucket of milk. And they were jumping at the beginning. One frog said, oh, I can't do it anymore, and she just drowned, died. The other one said, I'm not going to give up, and she kept jumping, jumping, jumping all night. And by morning, the milk turned into butter, and she climbed on it and got out of the bucket. And, you know, we did face lots of situations where we felt like, oh, that's it, you know? Yeah. You just can't go to the next level, you can't go to the next stage, and we said, no, you'll just keep jumping. Right. Again, you need to be smart about it. Some things that you try, you know, that are just not gonna work, you have to kill them. This is part of it. But at the same time, you have to be consistent. If there is something that you know that a lot of hard work and consistency will help, you should keep trying. So we keep jumping all the time. And it's not getting easier, but it's exercising.
Right. So yeah, I think it's definitely a great story. And so it sounds like you guys are willing to experiment, try a lot of things. Do you have the ability to measure the results in your product?
All the time.
Is analytics an important part of what you do?
Absolutely. We have lots of data people and PhDs that are looking at analytics and analyzing and A/B testing all the time, and getting feedback from the community all the time. This is what it's all about. And
so is growth hacking a part of your growth strategy, or is that, or not? Or what, how do you see that idea?
You know, we have great engineers and great product people, and they are very smart, but it's a combination of looking at the data and looking at the product and talking to the community and then planning the growth and taking it to the next level. So I wouldn't call it just growth hacking. It's really a great combination of lots of feedback from the community, testing many things, and always think of innovation as something that you have to experiment and try.
Awesome.
Different things.
Well, thanks, Adi. That's a great note to end with. And thanks very much. It's a fantastic story.
Thank you for having me over, and thank you for inviting me.